Hello and welcome to this presentation where I will look at the well-intended but misguided policies of politicians, economists, psychologists and epidemiologists. Today we're looking at the case of Ross Ulbricht, who started a website called Silk Road, which used an encrypted network and the Bitcoin payment currency in order to allow individuals who, as long as they were not hurting anybody else outside those two parties, were able to transact with one another. As a result, this became a place where a lot of hard drugs were transacted, and the American government did not have the same opinion as Ross did, that these people had the right to deal with one another. He received one of the most harshest penalties available, and he was essentially convicted as someone who was trading the drugs himself, even though he only provided the platform for people to freely transact with one another. The case here of Pretty Good Privacy, which was developed by Phil Zimmermann, allowed people to, in the early 90s, to send messages to one another with encryption. And this was not liked by the American government, and they put him through a lot of charges, which he was eventually acquitted for. But really, should people have the ability to transact with one another, or send messages to one another, or even if someone here wants to buy drugs and consume them within the bounds of their property and not affect anybody else, and someone here wants to sell them those drugs and also not affect anybody outside of that perimeter of their property, should they be allowed to do so? And what right does the government come in to tell us what we can and cannot do? What I should mention, though, is that in the case of Ross Ulbricht, in the Silk Road case, two parents gave testimony about their dead children. One was a 25-year-old who overdosed on heroin sourced from Silk Road, and another was a 16-year-old who jumped off a balcony to their death, again with drugs sourced from Silk Road. Now the question is, do we want to live in a nanny state where the government is responsible for caring for the well-being of every individual and telling them that drugs are wrong to take and be responsible, etc.? Or is it the responsibility of families or individuals to raise their children to be aware of the dangers of drugs? I really feel sorry for those parents, but also I feel that if we let government come and run every affair in our life and make them responsible for our well-being, our morals, this is not a state which will allow everyone to be free and for the best of humankind to flourish. We really hope that the case of Ross is looked at and he is freed. Wouldn't it be great if he could create another Silk Road on his release that allowed people to trade between one another, not hurt anybody else, put the responsibility of people's actions back onto themselves, and allow a more free society?